Okay. Started. You can go ahead, Parth.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mumbai MuleSoft Meetup group. It's been long. We haven't, haven't been to virtual meetup. So here
So
is
we
the
have back-to-back two meetups.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we are back to back two meetups now. First is this one. Second, we have in person meetup in November. We'll come to that.
26th November. Yeah, be there.
Yeah. So today's agenda will be mostly we'll start with the introductions part. We got new MuleSoft meetup leader for Mumbai location, so we'll have a quick introduction with them, and then we'll start with Jitendra, who will be the speaker for today and explaining us the concepts for that. So thank you, Jitendra. Then we have the connector architecture explained by Jitendra. Then he'll go through a live demo here, and then at last we'll have a networking time, and then we can all connect and discuss any questions that we have. Okay, coming back, we got three new meetup leaders for the Mumbai location. uh, Earlier we had Akshita, Manish and myself, but now Jitendra Bafna, Sajid Ali Qureshi and Sonia Arokia joined us for the Mumbai location. So I welcome each one of them. And just to have a quick introduction, Sajid, you want to go first?
Sure, Parth. Thanks a lot. So, first of all, I would like to welcome everyone in this virtual meetup. Myself, Sajid Ali Qureshi. I'm working with Epicero as a senior lead engineer. That's a short introduction for me. And yeah, welcome everyone to this meetup. Thank you.
No. Thank you, Sajid. Jitendra and Sonia couldn't make it for the meetup due to some medical emergencies. We'll see them in the next in-person meetup. Coming to the latest updates of MuleSoft site, Akshita.
Yeah. So we are gonna have an in-person meetup, and all of us are gonna be there, like all the leaders and everyone. And it's been long time, right? We haven't met, so it's a good opportunity to catch up with everyone. Like, yeah, just to see you guys, everyone, like all in person. So you all can be there. It's on Saturday, 26th November, from around like I guess 11 a.m. So yeah, see you there. And there are just few updates, like data weave is now open source, so we all can check the blogs out, and more updates we'll be having in the in-person meetup. We're hoping to do it like a grand kind of thing because it's been a long time. So yeah, I guess that's it, Parth. Next.
And we have limited seat for the
Ah,
this 26th November meetup. So we opened it for around 100. We got few registrations, so it's usually first come first serve basis. So register yourself. That's all.
yeah, we'll share the link as well in the group. Let's later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Handing over to you, Jitendra.
Okay, cool. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jitendra Rawat. I'm currently a tech lead at Bits and Glass, India, and I will. I'm being. It's the first time that I'll be presenting at a meetup. Every time I've been in the audience, so I need your support, and we'll be building this, uh, you know, connector together. Okay. So, thank you, everyone. So,
Thank you.
let me share my screen.
Thank you. Sure.
So, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, can someone come up and tell me what are the important elements of a Mule connector? Anyone would like to try? Come on. Okay, no problem. Let's go ahead. Okay, so what's the important? What do you basically see is we see the components, right? Right. So there are two types of components. One is a source component, where we receive the message, and then we have operations that work on the Mule event, correct? And it generates the result and then it passes forward to the next processing unit. Okay, so components are like the core of any Mule connector. Now, what is the second important element is configuration, correct? So whenever you create a connector, first thing is you check the connection, right? So depending on the parameter of the connection, it will decide the behavior of how your connecting connector is going to behave, right? The second is how do you configure it. So the configuration is second most important part. Then how to handle those connections. So we have connection providers, right? For example, when you test the connection, how in the back end there is something that goes to the source system and connects and gives you the fetches the result. So connection provider is another important element. And then we have parameters. Now parameters can be at the source level, can be at the operation level, can be at the connection level. you know it can be at any level, but it's common to all, correct? Is everyone with me? Okay. So let's go ahead and see what's the Mule's connector architecture. Okay. So it's nothing complex. It's very simple. It's basically comprises of Java classes. So there are two types of classes here. One classes that are provided by Mule, that is the Mule Java SDK, and the other is a target facing client classes. Means it's the Java classes for which we are creating the connector. Okay, for example, if you are creating a connector for, let's say, Kafka, so we will have the Java API for it. you know uh, so those will be under this client classes. And then Mule provides out of the box classes, in the form of template. So Mule provides standard templates. you know it just gives you all the interfaces, and then we have to just implement those methods, you know to create our connector. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. You don't need a heavy background in Java programming language too. Okay, MuleSoft it like made it very easy. So that's it. I mean, there is no complex architecture here. It's just a series of classes, and we need to create some, bunch of classes, and the Mule runtime will take those classes, and it will, create a connector itself. Okay, so let's go to see the step-by-step methods, to create a connector. Okay, so we have to, these are some 8 basic steps, you need to create a connector. Okay, so what I will do is I will, I have a blog written on the same. So I will take this, take each and every step, and I will, in my studio, Anypoint Studio, I will create these projects, and then we will build it. Okay, now let's say we are building a new connector. So the first thing is, we have to create a Mule project. Okay, first create a Mule project. The step one is create a Mule project. So let's go and create a Mule project. Okay, and let's say we are creating a connector named Mumbai 21. Okay. Okay. I just forgot. But for what are we creating a connector? I wanted here, to create the source or the listener, operation. So I just took a simple messaging platform called as Apache Pulsar. You can just Google it. It's very similar to Apache Kafka. Now the difference between Apache Kafka and Apache Pulsar is Apache Kafka writes the logs directly on a file on your hard disk, right? But on the other hand, Apache Pulsar, writes its logs on a database, called as bookkeeper. So it works on indexes. So it's much faster when compared to Apache Kafka. Okay. So what we'll do is we will host our Apache Pulsar on our local, we'll use the Java APIs for that, and then we'll integrate those Java APIs in the Mule SDK classes. Okay. Now, the second important thing once we create the project is we change the app packaging. A connector has a packaging of Mule extension. Okay. Now, what does it? The next thing that it needs a parent for additional classes. Okay. So the MuleSoft provides these parent Mule modules parent. So you have to add this in your POM so that additional libraries gets add it to your project. Let's do that. Let's add it here. Now, so we
Jitin,
had, sorry,
yeah, can you share your blog link as well in the chat? That will be helpful.
yeah, yeah. Now, so this is the first part. We made the packaging changes. You know, we changed the project. No, sorry, we added the parent. Okay. Now we need to add the classes for the Pulsar. So that it downloads. We get the Java client classes for it. So this is the Maven dependency for Apache Pulsar. So I'm just downloading it. So I go to my dependency section. I add my Pulsar dependency. I add the properties. Okay. Now, since we are completely working on Java, we don't need this Mule package at all. So you can just delete it. Okay. We don't need this. We are completely working on the Java classes. So in Java, ideally the good practice is to create two kinds of packages. Okay, I'll just create in front of you. One is the API. In this, so in this package, what we will do is we will store all the classes related to Apache Pulsar or your target class, as you can see. You know, and then we will have one package called as internal. Okay, let me give you a good name. Okay, so let me give com.meetup dot Mumbai. Okay. Okay, cool. Now we'll create a second package that will hold the classes which are related to our Java SDK, Mule Java SDK. Okay, Mumbai.internal. Okay, so this is the best practice that we have to conform to. Now, since we have this, the next step is let's follow our guide. So we have created the standard Java packages in the project. Okay, the API and the internal. So the API will contain classes related to Apache Pulsar, and then the internal it's all the Mule Java SDK related classes. Now the third step is create the entry class, for our connector. So entry class is a class where the Mule runtime will first look into, and then it will from there it will go to different classes and fetch results. Now let's say we are creating an Apache connector, right? So now let's create a class called Pulsar. So where it will go? It will go to, since this is a entry class, it will go to our internal package. Okay. Now, now it needs two annotations. Okay. One is what name in the when you see in this Mule palette, what the name what should be the name of your connector, right? So as you can see, there is an extension annotation where it specifies the name of the project. Okay, that's sorry, the name of the connector. So we'll copy paste this. The second is the XML. You can see this XML and it has a prefix. For example, suppose I have an HTTP connector. Okay, suppose I have an HTTP connector. If I go to configuration XML, I see that the namespace for HTTP connector is. mm, can you see this? This is a prefix. So we need some prefix for a connector. So hence we require an @XML annotation that defines the prefix for a connector. So let's define the prefix for connector as pulsar. Okay, and let's import all the classes. So done. So this is the first part of your connector. Now the important part comes is how do we create the connection? You know, how do we create the connection for your connector? Connection means how will it interact with your target instance. Now I have a pulsar instance running on my local, so how your connector will interact is that, so there are three important things. So first is we will need to create a class, connection provider class. So I'll show you. So let's come here. So we have our internal. So let's create a package called connection. Now we will create our pulsar connection here. Okay. So let me go below. Okay. So let me create a class named pulsar connection provider. Okay. Now this pulsar connection provider needs to extend, you know, a class called connection provider. So connection provider, it not needs to extend, it needs to implement. Okay, I'll just show it here. It needs to implement an interface called connection provider. As I told, Mule SDK is based on template based design. So it just gives you all the templates, and we have to, what you have to do is we have to implement those. Okay. So now I have implemented it. Let me import this class. Now what are the methods that we need to do? You can see there are three different methods that we need to implement. One is the connect. Now how do we connect to the target application? The second is disconnect. How do we disconnect to the target application? And third is validate. How do we validate whether this connection was successful or not? But if you can see here, it returns a generic object, right? Because we have not created a class that will a concrete class for this object. Okay. So what we will do is, before going there, for a connection also we need a parameters. Am I right? So we need to provide parameters for connecting to this pulsar client. We need two things. We need the host and the port. That's it. These are the two parameters that are required. So what we'll do is we'll go to this package. Now we are creating what you say classes related to Apache Pulsar. Hence now we'll create all our classes in API. Now we'll create the parameters for our connector. Okay, let me create a package first. mm, Called parameters. Okay, so we have a package parameters here. Now what we'll do is we'll quickly create a class called pulsar connection parameter. Okay, what I'll do is I will copy paste from my blog itself so that we can save some time out here. Okay, so we have this pulsar connection parameter. So you can see it just takes a bootstrap server. So bootstrap server, basically it's the host and the port appended by colon. you know so what I will do is I will just copy paste this in my class. Now you see these annotations are required because Mule reads from here. In this bootstrap server URL will be the header in your what to say, when you have pop-up for editing these parameters in the connection, we will get this bootstrap server URL already printed. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll take one step back and we will bifurcate this into two things. One is the host, the second is the port. Okay. So I will annotate this with port. Okay, and this will be host. Quickly, what I will do is I will set getters for this. Now I just need getters. Let me generate the getter. Okay. Now you see the bootstrap URL. The bootstrap URL, it's like this: pulsar colon slash slash. Okay. Now come the host. Let's append colon to it, and then plus, and then we have port. Okay. This is our bootstrap URL. Now I will show why I have splitted this, because we will need. I will show in later. Okay. So we have our connection in place, parameters in place. Now what do we need more? Now we need to use these parameters and then create a class in such a way that we connect to our client. Okay. So what I will do is, let's go here. If you can see here, I have created a pulsar connection class. Okay. So this connection class, it just has a what do you say, constructor. It In the constructor it takes the parameter. Okay. Out of the parameter, what does it do is it's also holding the reference to that parameter here. So I have just made that reference. Second is, we are creating a class. Okay, we are creating the client to connect to our target system. So that is also very simple. It just builds this using our bootstrap URL. And then it assigns, and it doesn't assign exactly, it just sends the pulsar client. Okay. And if we assign it, then we can return the pulsar client also. you know just simple basic things. Okay. So what I will do is, I'll just copy paste this. So what I will do is, I'll go to my internal, not, so this is related to my pulsar. So I'll just go to class. I'll just create a package called as, let me check the package, let me create the class directly. So, okay, let me create a class called pulsar connection. you know so it just has basic things. So it got the pulsar parameter also, and everything else. Cool. Now what we'll do is, we will use this pulsar connection class, to embed in our, this pulsar connection provider. As I told before, right, we needed the connection instead of this object, right? This object is very generic, but what does the connection provider provide at the end? It provides a pulsar connection. So we need to mark this as pulsar connection. Okay. Now what we'll do is, we will remove this again, and we'll import all the, yeah. Okay. Now our connect, when the runtime implements this connect, it gives back the pulsar connection. You know So that is very important. So how do we validate it? We need the pulsar connection to validate this. Okay. Now you can see this disconnect. So you can see the pulsar class. I have implemented a method called invalidate. This invalidate method will basically close the connection to the client. You know, right? So I will just call that method inside disconnect. So let us do that step by step. So you can see here, we needed pulsar parameter. So I am just taking this pulsar parameter and adding it here. Okay. Now we need to implement this method, right? The connect method. So what are we going to do is, we'll just return, we'll create a new pulsar connection, and then we'll pass the pulsar parameter here, pulsar connection parameter. That what that will return, it will return a pulsar connection class. Okay. It's as simple as that. Now we need to implement this method called disconnect, so that we can uh, disconnect our connection to the client. So as I told, connection already has invalidated method, so I'll just call it here. Okay, I'll just copy paste it here. Cool. The pulsar connection class has not only constructed allows us to construct build the connection to our target class, the target application. It also allows us to disconnect it. Okay, it has all the methods. Now let's, how do we invalidate this? How do we make sure that our connection is valid or not? you know so actually, Apache Pulsar does not out of the box provide anything to show us whether our connection is valid or invalid. So what I have done is, I have simply created checked whether there is a connection on the host and the port. So I have used a socket class in Java to check the connection. Okay, so I'll just implement that method. Just give me a minute. Hmm, yeah, so I already implemented it. So you can see here, what I have done is, I have basically created used this socket class of Java. What I have done is, I have taken the host that we will provide in our parameter. I have taken the port, and I've just tested whether the socket is able to connect to it or not. If it fails, what we have to do is, we have to simply return this connection valid result as failure, and we can pass in message, why it failed. Okay, and if it's success, we'll just need to return this success. Okay. Now what we'll do is, since everything is in place related to connection, we'll test our connection. Okay. What I'll do is, I will go to my .m2 repository. So we have created a package for our application. Sorry. Okay, what was the package that we created? Group ID, it's my.company, right? com.mycompany. So does it have anything before that? Okay, there is nothing. Okay, so what we'll do is, also, so for our connector we need an icon, right? So whenever you drag and drop, you see icons for various connectors. So for our connector also, we need an icon. So how do we do that? We simply create a folder named icon. Okay, and then we will add a svg file, a simple image svg file in that. So I have one. The name should be icon for that file, so it should be icon.svg. So I have my svg file. Now let's build this class and let's test it. Okay, I'll just close everything else. Let me go here. So the command is, okay. The major thing that we missed is, as I told you, we have our startup class, right? We need to add our connection provider class that we had just created to our starter class, because Mule runtime would identify what is our by default, it won't identify itself, what is the connection provider class. So we need to append that. Okay, so it's like @connection providers. Okay, and then we will just add our class name. It's pulsar connection provider dot class. Okay, so everything we build, we need to refer here in our startup class. Okay, so what we'll do is, now we'll build our application. So nvn clean install. Okay. Mm, okay, sorry. So I have to go inside this, and then I have to start. MD, sorry, CE will build this class Indian clean start. Okay, let us check whether in our .m2 repository we have that or not. Hmm. So it was from my company. Yeah, Mumbai Meetup. So we have our application here. Okay. So what now we'll do is we'll create a application and test. Uh, Now the first thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to import that application, right? So how do we do that? I have already done it. I'll just copy paste that. Mm, just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. So this is our connector test. So what was our package? It was com.mycompany. Okay. Com.mycompany. What was our application name? Mumbai-meetup-21. That will be the artifact ID. And what was the version? It was the snapshot version, I guess. Okay. So we will use this. Okay. Now, the important thing that we need to you see this is what the classifier for our custom connector will be Mule plugin. Okay. Now let's see whether in our test app we can reference our connector or not. So let me close everything. you know so I have created my test app. Let me check in our form.xml, is it everything correct? Okay. Okay, so I'm not able to see whether in which where I had created it. No. Okay. I think I have created it in wrong form. Okay, no problem. We'll do that again. Okay, so this is my Mule test app. Now what I will do is I will create the same structure again. Group ID is com.mycompany. You know, the application name is meetup hyphen test hyphen app. It's build plugin, and the version is the snapshot version. Okay, let's see whether it's initialized or not. Okay, there is some error out here. Let's check what's the error. Okay, sorry. It's not Mule test app. It's Mule. The connector name is Mule Mumbai Meetup. Okay, it's Mumbai. My bad. 21. It's Mumbai hyphen Meetup. Okay. We can see our connector. Okay, you can see an icon also here. So let's test this connector. Now we'll go to global configuration, and what was the name? The Apache Pulsar config. You know, the host is the local host, and the port that it runs on is, let me just verify it once. It runs in 6650. What I've done is I have run my uh, Apache Pulsar on in the background, okay, in the Docker container. I'll just test this connection. Okay. So what is they are saying is we have found the connection to be instance must not be null. Okay. So we might have made some mistakes in our class. Okay. So let's go and check.
Yeah, Jitendra, Rajiv, and some Kishu, they are saying like port is in double quotes. So,
Sorry. Where?
like where we have defined the port that is in double quotes. So, if you can
Ports.
remove, yeah,
Where exactly?
in our class, Java class.
yeah.
Okay. The parameter class. Which class exactly?
Yes, parameters.
Yes, parameter class.
Okay. In the
Rajiv, you can unmute yourself as well.
yeah. Okay. So my bad. Yes, correct. Thank you. So we'll build this again. Okay. We have been. So I think everything is fine now. Okay. Good. So let us close everything here. We'll start our test app here, and what we'll do is, in our dependencies, we'll remove this dependency and add again. Time check doesn't pick up the updated one. Cool. We'll go to our, okay, we have our application. Now let's again go here. Local host, and it's 6650. Okay. So our connection was successful. Now what I will do is I'll quickly turn down this application. I close this application, that's running in my background, so that we can verify that our the validation part is working properly. Okay, so it's shut down. Okay, this is correct. You know, so this is how you validate your connections. Cool. Now we'll quickly move. I'll start this. The application, the Apache Pulsar application again, so that we'll use it again. Now we'll close this test applications. Okay, now we'll move back again to our connector application. Okay, now we have tested our connection. Now what's the next part? Let's create a source component. You know, to create a source component, basically, or you can call it as a listener, right? So it basically you need to just extend a class called source. Okay, and also you can see the format. It represents two things. It represents the first thing. It represents the payload of the data type of your payload. Since we want our payload to be generic, to be accepted of a data of any type, let's say JSON, XML, anything, CSV, we'll make it as an input stream. Why input stream? Because input stream handles data in a series of bytes. That's the reason I have used input string. And the next part, it represents what will be the data type of our attributes. you know. So I just made it that the key of my attribute will be string as well as the value will be string. Okay, now it enforces you to, what you say, implement two classes, so two methods, the onStart method and the onStop method. So onStart basically means when the runtime, click this hits this method, how does it pull the messages from our target classes, you know. So basically it's the start of your flow, how your flow should start. And if you want to stop your flow, or you want to stop the ingestion of message into the flow, this method has to be triggered. Cool. So this is how you create your uh, listener. It's as simple as that, nothing complex, you know. So what I will do is, I already have created this, I'll just copy and paste. So I have this, so you can see I have created a class called as source. This is my pulsar listener. Okay, so what we will do is, we will just copy paste this and paste it in our current application. Okay, this is internal, this is connection, so let me create a listener for this, or you can say a source for this. So what I'll do is, I'll create a new package, okay, whose name will be source. Since there are two type of components, we will be also be creating and sorry, a different component which is non-source. So to differentiate both of them, I'm separating out, segregating them into different packages. So let me create a class called pulsar listener. Okay, okay, okay. Now we'll just import the rest. Cool. Now I'll just walk you through, okay, what I have done. So since this is our listener class, we will mention what will be the input type and the attribute, what will be the type of the input and what will be the type of its attribute. Okay. The second thing that we want to mention is what type of media type that this listener will be publishing. So we are saying that since we don't know, right, the message can be in the form of JSON or XML or CSV. So we are, keeping the value as any. Okay, so what since the operation is a source operation, what is the name that you wanted to display it? So this is a message listener, and since this is a listener, I have kept the alias as listener. This is optional. Okay, now this listener basically, takes two things, from which topic you will read the message, so I'm just taking this. So this is a parameter, so I will taking mentioning the topic name, and what will be the name of the listener. So it requires the name of the listener. So these are like parameters required by Apache Pulsar. These are the minimal things required. So I've taken them, name of the topic and the subscription name. you know Now since we will need the connection provider for this, so I'm mentioning the connection provider, with @connection. So using auto injection, the connection provider will be automatically injected in this class. Okay, and I have also created some declarations. So I will show you how we will be using this declaration. Now let's go to the start method. The start method, has a parameter named source callback. The main job of the source callback is to, insert this message into the flow. So once we have read the message from the our target application, that is the Apache Pulsar, now the job of this source callback to insert that message into our flow. Okay, so I will show you how. So what we'll do is, we'll create a consumer using our Pulsar connection here. So the consumer will basically require the topic name and the subscription name. Okay, so now we have consumer here. Now what the consumer do, so I have created a, you can see I have created an infinite loop here, a while loop. So it will, poll the messages again and again from the client, from the target application. Okay, so you can see this, the consumer is waiting for the message, so we got the message. Now we know that our attributes is of the type string, correct? So what I have done is I have built my I am building my attributes. So once we get the message from Apache Pulsar, the message gives us the message ID. So I've taken that and I have set in the attributes. I have set the producer name. So who has produced it, I have taken that. I have taken the published time. So these all attributes are, in the message provided by Apache Pulsar itself. So what I'm doing is I'm simply taking these attributes and creating our mule attributes out of them. Okay, since I mentioned before the type of the attribute, so the same type I am creating in the attribute. Now, since the message that we received, is in the form of bytes. Actually, Apache Pulsar by default, handles byte array. So I'm taking that and I'm converting that into an input stream. Since we had already mentioned that our data will be of the type input stream. Now, you can see now we have got the payload and now we have got the attributes. Now we will bind this together in the class known as result. So you can see here what I have done is I have I'm building this result in the form of I'm mentioning the format. The payload will be of the form input stream. The attributes will be of the form it will be a map of string and string, and the output will be of input stream. And what are the attributes? The one that we have created here. Okay, so I'm not hard coding any media type. It can be of anything. I'm making it as generic as possible. Now it's job of the source callback, to push this message, push this result, in fact, because we just don't want to, push the payload alone. We want to push the payload along with its attributes. So hence we require result class, the result object that we created, to be pushed by the source callback. I have done that and I have acknowledged it. Okay, it's like you have committed it. Okay, and if there is an error in any of these, there will be a negative acknowledgement. So this is very similar to NAC and ACK that you might have encountered in other applications like Kafka. Okay, now since there was a method to connect, there is a method to disconnect also, that is on stop. So what we will do is we'll simply take the connection and we'll close the client. That's it, nothing great. So this is the main purpose of this entire meetup, that I wanted to showcase how the listener is built. It's very simple. Okay, now we have created a listener. Now will also need operation to create messages or push these messages into our target application. So let's create a different component of operation. What I'll do is I will, not API, internal, I'll create one more package called operation. Okay, now I so we'll just follow this because there are steps properly written out here. So what is on start. So this is for source component. Okay, so what is on start. This is a method that will the runtime will start producing the message. This is on stop is basically the runtime will stop the producing messages. The source callback, this will basically inject the messages into your flow. Okay, we have gone through this class. Now let's create the operation component. Now the operation component will basically take the message and publish it in your Apache Pulsar application, the target application. Okay, so this is the structure of it. So it also takes, so every operation or every source basically needs the connection. This is very generic, right? This is non-negotiable. So you have to inject it everywhere. The second is we need parameters related to the producers also, right? So I have taken this parameter. Okay, so in operation we don't actually require any standard classes, to mention. So basically, uh, what our Mule classes or Mule generic classes has done is you just annotate your class that it's a publisher, and then you just mention all the classes down, all the methods down, and it will directly consider those as operations. Okay. So if you see, this is the pulsar producer parameter that will create now. So this parameter basically takes the topic name, and it also has the body. You can see here this body, as I told before, that Apache Pulsar only works with bytes of arrays. So this utility method will convert our payload into bytes, and then it will send. That's it. So we have created the producer, we have sent the messages, and then we have closed the connection. Okay. So what we'll do is, first we will create this pulsar producer parameter. So what parameter will be required for this operation? So we'll go here. We will go to this class. We'll have this pulsar producer parameter. I already have parameter. Just or else what you can do is, I also shared my GitHub link for this project in the blog itself, so you can look into it. I go to main. If you go to extension API, you go to parameter, and we have the producer parameters. So what do we need? In which topic do we need to push the message? And the body of the message. You see this, the type of the message is input. Definitely it's an input, but it's of typed value. Sorry, my bad. It's of input stream, since we are dealing with bytes of messages. But the actual type of this body is typed value. So you can just Google. I'll just share this blog. So what's typed value in our data weave? So typed value is basically, it's a data type of an object that consists of both. It consists of data as well as the type of the data. So looking at the data, this class will understand what is the. It will infer by seeing the data itself, that it will infer the MIME type of this data. Okay. Hence we are using typed value. So I just put this also in our chat so you can refer it later. I'll go ahead. Okay, it's very simple. So parameter. So this is parameter that's required. So this is something called as parameter DSL. DSL is basically domain specific language. So basically, if you want to allow references of Java classes in your what you say parameters, you can allow that, but I have not allowed it, because I just want to support data view expressions, and I don't want to use any bean references out there. you know that's it. So this content is primary. So if you want to hard code, or you want to tell that the content type will be of only some object, or it will be only of JSON, only of XML, you can mention it. I have mentioned it primary is equal to true. It basically says that whatever type of the data is, we will retain the same type in our applications also. Okay. So it's this. So I'll just copy paste this. Okay. There is some error out here. What's the error? Okay. Add the data. Hmm. Okay. So we have our parameter in place. Now what we'll do is, we'll create our operation. Our operation is basically a producer operation. So we will go to operation section. I will go here. It's an internal operation. I have my publisher. Okay. So we have reviewed this class before. So we'll simply create this class out here. Import it. Okay. Now, as I told, this class is of input stream type, right? We need to convert this into a byte of arrays because Apache Pulsar handles messages in byte of arrays by default. So I'll just create a utility here. Let me create a utility class out here. API class utility. You know, I have the method here extension utility. So you can see here it takes input stream as input and it takes array of bytes as an output. Let me paste this. Let me import utility out here. Okay, so we are done. So the basic fundamental things, it's done. Okay, so we have a operation, we have a source, and we have a connection in place. So let's go ahead and let me first change the version here. Its version is snapshot. So let me remove the snapshot and make it 1.0.0. Okay, and let's build this class. Okay, it's done. Let us check my company. Okay, so we have another version here. Okay, we have the updated version. Now let's go to our app. Let's update our version here also. Since it's not of snapshot, remove the snapshot. Okay, and okay, now we have Apache Pulsar. Does it have any problem? Okay, no operations are available. Oh, okay. So can someone tell me why these operations are not available here? Just a random guess. Anyone? Because in a hurry, I did not add it to our startup class. Okay. So we'll need to add our source and operation both to our startup class. So let me add the sources. So what our sources was also listener dot class, and let me add our operation. Operation was Pulsar publisher. Okay, class. Now let me delete this. Okay. So let us cross verify whether we have done this correct. So we have our extension, we have our XML, we have our connection provider, we have our sources, we have our operations. Okay, so these are 5 basic fundamental elements of any connector. Cool. So yes, we have everything in place now. Okay, let me update it. Check. So still it's, let me remove the module and let me add it again. Uh-oh, why not? Okay, close this. Are we okay? Still no operations. Did we not build it properly? Okay, this was successful. Okay, we have our everything here. Mm-mm. Anyone did see any error? So this is our pulsar class. Okay, this is our publisher class. Correct. Okay. So this is how. So 1.0.01 form is properly created. Okay. Are you mistaking in adding the versions?
Should we update the version to 1.0.1 and then deploy again and then?
Okay. We'll try that.
Yeah, maybe it's not taking up the latest jar file.
Yeah, that may be the possibility. Okay. So I updated it. Yeah. So we have this. Now let's go here and okay. Yeah. Thanks for suggestion. So it worked. So we usually we have two operations now. So one is sorry, two components now. One is the source and another is the operation. So let's build a simple app. So our generic listener, let's have a listener out here. You know, have a listener. Let's use this to publish. Okay. So we don't have a configuration. Let's create one. So it's local host. Port is 6650. Let's test the connection one more time. Okay, the connection was successful. Sorry. So now if you see here, we need a topic name. Let's say the topic name is meetup. Okay, let's assume the body is by default payload. Okay, and I have checked this for, button also, so it takes the database expression. Now listener has some problem. Okay, so what we'll do is this publisher is basically published to our target application. Now we have to read that from our target application. So let's have our new listener here. So see, since it's source, it has come properly in it. It has come properly in the source destination, the source place. Okay, it has taken the configuration. The topic is meetup. Okay, let's the subscription name is uh, monk. Okay, now let's log it. Nothing fancy. Let's log the payload. Okay, as simple as that. We'll also see whether we have got all the attributes properly or not. Sorry. Okay. Okay, it's ready. I guess it deployed. Yeah, it's deployed properly. Now let's send a message. So what I'm doing is I'm just posting basically a simple JSON. Okay, so let me hit it. See, so I posted it in the listener, HTTP listener. It got published, and we are at the receiver end, and you can see the attributes that we created, right? The publish time. Sorry, this was the publish time. It's an epoch time. You can convert that. The producer name. This is a default name. The message, the topic name. So we have used the topic name, right? So this is a message ID. This is what you say. This is encrypted. You know, it's in the form of bytes actually. So it doesn't give in numbers. Okay. So we have our meetup as a topic name from where it received from what was the producer name. Okay. So everything it's mentioned properly. Now we'll just go ahead and just paste it. Yeah. And yeah. So we have it. It's logged properly. So this is how it works. So I think it's end of the presentation from my side. Do you have any questions, anyone?
Jitin Parth here. I just
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
Uh, you coded most of the things. I mean, mostly everything on Java.
Correct.
If somebody is not from Java background and is not aware about the concepts of class or oops, is it possible to do the same through other MuleSoft connectors or something? Any other way apart from Java?
So we have XML SDK, right? We have another SDK. So we have
Mm-hmm.
Java SDK, the support for Java SDK as well as XML SDK. But the problem is you can't have a granular control on our application
Okay.
in XML SDK. So if you want to, design your attributes in different way, if you want to support some different languages, with Java, the advantage is we can invoke, if you suppose you have a target application that supports only Python API, okay? So you
Mm-hmm.
can invoke directly from your Java application and you can get fetch that results, correct?
Okay.
And the learning curve for Java is also very like it's not steep. You can easily learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Also, how
anyone?
do you get the display? How do you get the display picture there
So I
when
told you, right?
you?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to create a folder called icon. So this picture,
Okay.
this picture,
Yes,
right?
this one.
You have to create a folder called icon, and the format is icon.sgv. So you can have
Okay.
any icon with this format. Icon it's need the name as icon, but or SVG format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, even if you don't know Java, right? As I told you, right? Mule provides a template-based design. It just gives you all the methods that you need to implement. You can go to the Java API of your target application and just copy paste it there. You can. It's as simple as that. And you can you
I didn't
can
got you. What to copy paste?
the Java API for your application. For example, any application. So let's say for Apache Pulsar, I
Mm-hmm.
have this Apache Pulsar Java API. I just copy paste it. Okay, you can see this. So they show you methods to how do you connect. So basically, how you add a dependency in your application, right? In Maven,
Okay.
what is the connection URL that is required? You know, how a client is created. So this is how you created a client, right?
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So you just have to embed these in those methods provided by Mule SDK.
Okay. And we can simply make this connector available on Exchange as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Actually, we will be soon getting this Apache Pulsar connector from MuleSoft. It's in review stage as of now, so you guys can also use that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it from my end. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, Ashita.
Yeah, no questions from my end. It was really good session. I mean, if there are any questions, we can take them up, or we can go ahead with the trivia quiz.
Yeah, this Abhijit, I have one question, Jitendra, for you.
Yeah, yeah, Abhijit.
Uh, so for the custom connectors which we build, like for this session, we built the Pulsar connector, right? So how does MuleSoft support works in this case? So suppose if we get any issue in the production
Yeah.
or any hard environment for when we implement custom connector, so how does support works in that case?
So basically, there's a process. First, Mule verifies your application. So you have to submit this it's connector to Mule. So they themselves test it thoroughly, you know, and so so if you have published your application, so you only have to support it. I think there are different subscription models for that. If you
Okay,
are
so
using it in
irrespective of the subscription model, the custom connector, if we build it by ourselves, it's not supported by MuleSoft, right?
no, not directly, not directly.
Okay, until they certify it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Any questions? I hope this was not a complex topic, right? I tried to make it as simple as that.
Yeah, it was really like simple and it was good. Your blog actually helped us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good actually. We got few questions on the chat, Jitendra, if you could have a look.
Yeah. Okay. Are we uploading this session somewhere? Dattatray, yes, you
We
can.
are recording the
Yeah.
sessions and we'll be uploading mostly today or tomorrow on the same site where you RSVP, the same meetup page.
Can we leverage log4j to inside connector logic? Yes, you can. You can. You can. Are we using Mule SDK, not specifically XML or Java, right? No, this is Java SDK. Shubham, this is Java SDK. We have XML SDK also, but this session was specifically for Java SDK.
Java SDK.
One more thing, Jiten, how can we enable the verbose logging here? Suppose for Pulsar, if I want verbose logging on my Cloud Hub. So,
Okay, so basically you have to configure that in your log4j2.xml file,
okay.
right? And if you want to restrict that, you can restrict there itself.
Mhm. Okay.
For example, if you want to change the logging level, you have to manage it there itself because Pulsar has it has heavy verbose logging.
Okay. In itself.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, then.
Any more questions? Should we start with the trivia quiz?
Yeah.
I think we can start. Parth, you want to share your screen?
Should I or will you and I'll note down the names? Whichever
Okay.
works.
Let me share the screen.
I can as well if you have any problems.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Is my screen visible? Just a minute. I think there was.
Yes.
Okay, so the first question, just yeah, before the question, just not, I mean, put the number in the chat, and Parth, you can take the names like for the spin the wheel.
Yes.
Question number one: in the source component with Mule SDK class helps you to bind the payload and its attributes together in the flow. Connection provider, source callback, result, none of the above. Parth, you can take like around 5 names for each of them.
Yes.
Once we
Jiten, what's the, I mean, yeah, before telling the answer, anybody else wants to answer? Okay. Jitin, what's the answer?
The answer is result.
3.
It's three. None
Yeah.
of
Three.
none of them answered that.
Oh man.
So,
Okay.
Jitendra, like I have
Yeah.
also a doubt
Now
regarding.
it's not valid, Shivam.
I also thought it's a source callback, which
Source
will.
callback basically pushes your message in the mule flow.
Okay. Yeah, it's a result. Result is nothing but it will bind the attributes
Correct.
and the payload. Yeah,
Correct.
and source callback will inject the that payload into the flow. Yeah. Got it.
Correct.
Right. Let's move to
So,
question 2.
yeah. What methods do we need to override to customize the connection provider class? First, connect and disconnect. Second, on start, on stop. Validate and connect. Connect, disconnect, and validate. Yeah. Are we done, Path?
Just a second. Correct answer is connect, disconnect, and validate. So we got Vamshi, Bhaskar, Vishwanath, Shubham Pawar, and Shyam Raj.
Cool.
All right.
And now coming to should I go ahead or I'll wait?
Yes, go ahead now, please.
Third and the last one. What is the packaging type of custom connector Mule application? Maven plugin, Mule plugin, Mule plugin, Mule application, and Mule extension.
Attention. Oh, okay. What's the correct answer?
Mule extension.
Yeah. Mule extension is the right answer.
Mule extension is option
4.
4. So we got Lini, then Pratibha, Lini, Pratibha,
Yeah, I'll share my screen
Rajshi,
and we can spin the wheel.
Pratibha answered twice, then Raj Shekhar, and then Professor.
Kaka Sahib, and
Parth, can you send me
Shubham.
the name?
Just a second.
Kaka Sahib and Shubham.
Gyanendra, right? Kaka Sahib, Shubham, and Gyanendra.
Ganitra, yeah.
Sure, that's Shubham. Again, Shubham Pawar. Yes. Here is the list for question 2.
This is for first one.
2. First, nobody answered.
Okay, this is for two, right? Cool.
Yeah.
I'll just put them here. Vamshi Bhaskar. Okay. Shubham Kumar.
Vamchi's first name, Bhaskar's second name.
Is it right?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. Let's spin it then. It's Shubham. Yay.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Shubham.
Congrats, Shubham. Just a second. Shut up, okay?
Yeah. Winners, just send us your email address so we can send you all the vouchers, training vouchers.
Email address
And
and
also,
LinkedIn IDs.
yeah, email address and LinkedIn ID as well. And The speakers will be getting like the training and the certification voucher. So if you all want to be a speaker for the next meetup, do volunteer.
I gave you the second set of names, Sakshita.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Lini, Pratibha, Rajashekar, Kaka Sai, Shubham Pawar again. So it's Kaka Sai.
Kaka sir provided his email ID before the wheel.
That's
Just
how
a
you
second. Okay,
predict.
1 second, we don't close that window.
Great. So let me share my screen again. We can do the last part of the meetup. And yeah. So yeah, networking time. We should have done this before, but we just got started with the meetup. If you all want to introduce yourself or give us some feedback or anything like that, to let us know. Or we'll be having a full-fledged networking time at the next meetup, which is gonna be like in-person one on 26th November. So be there, and we all see you. Apart from this, yeah, thank you. And do share the meetups, maybe feedback, whatever you'll get after the form. I mean, the feedback form you'll be getting after the meetup. And see you at the next meetup.
We need the LinkedIn IDs for both of them.
LinkedIn IDs and the email addresses. I'm
Shubham,
stopping the recording.